Welcome to Inside Communications. I'm your host, Mike Bako. Today we're joined by Karl Vontz as we go inside this year's CLIO Healthcare Awards. Coming up next on Inside Communications. And we're joined today by Karl Vontz. Karl, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
The CLIO Healthcare Awards is an outgrowth of the CLIO Awards. Tell us a little bit about the CLIO Healthcare Awards.
So the CLIO Healthcare Awards are really focused on work that's regulated by the FDA. So one of the things that we realized in the CLIO Awards is that we were getting some advertising from the healthcare industry, but it wasn't winning. And a lot of the judges that we talked to really didn't understand the constraints that the FDA imposes upon healthcare advertising. So we really saw a need to break that out as a separate event and allow the healthcare creatives really to show their chops. Essentially, you know, if everybody is subjected to the same regulations, which definitely have an impact on the creativity that they can display, if they're subjected to the same regulations, then we can look at it and say, okay, well now who's the most creative?
So there is that leveling of the playing field, that they're not two different markets. Everyone is under those same FDA registrations and regulations. Tell us a little bit about how that affects their creativity, how they market, how they do their ad campaigns, and even how they interact with people in social media. We know that that is a real challenge that's coming up with a lot of these campaigns.
Right. Well, everything that you do with the FDA, it has to go through Washington, right? And so when any of these guys are looking to advertise a product, you can't simply go out and say something is stronger, faster, better without having clinical trials to prove it. And of course that takes years to do. So they need to be out marketing it before they can say those things. So they have to be really careful. So I think a lot of times what you see as a consumer when you're at home and you're watching these watching the TV commercials and something comes on and it really doesn't tell you what the drug does. And it just says, if you think you're having a problem, talk to your doctor. Which of course leads a lot of people to go, oh my God, I think I have that problem, I should talk to my doctor. But it really does take away the ability to do some of the more creative things. And what we found is whenever healthcare ads are entered into the regular CLIO Awards, we see the consumer judges that would work on accounts like Gatorade or Nike confused as to why the ads aren't more creative and saying things that could sell the drug better. What they don't realize is how stringent those regulations are. And of course, we all know that once you say something positive about the drug, you have to turn around and say all those horrible things that the drug could possibly do to you, make your eyeballs fall out and things like that.
So certainly that's an FDA issue. How does it affect international companies, international campaigns? Certainly the judging is also international. How does it, from region to region, country to country, how is that an issue in terms of the judging?
Yeah, you know, it was a real concern for us when we first went international with this, because we tested out doing the CLIO Healthcare Awards first here in the United States, specifically with the FDA in mind. And we thought once we tackle that, we'll take a look at what we need to do internationally. It was a worry that the regulations are different from country to country. And I think you probably know that there are certain countries where regulations are really lax. When you go down to Mexico, you can get codeine over the counter. But the way in which we set up our categories, it allows codeine to be considered an over-the-counter drug. So it's not in the same category as a drug that requires a prescription from a doctor. So essentially, we have leveled the playing field, and we also know that our judges are sophisticated enough to know that if you're looking at an ad from Mexico, the regulations aren't as tight. But the real meat of it comes down to the fact is we're really judging for the big idea. We're looking for originality. We're looking for creativity. We tell the judges, this isn't about your personal feelings towards the drug. It's not about the effectiveness of the drug. It's not about the sales of the drug. It's not about the company the drug is made by. It's only about the creativity of the ad. That's it. So we take a look at that, and you find that when you're looking for good ideas, they come from just about anywhere.
You mentioned the judging. How is it picking the judges, having them make their decision? I know that you've brought in an interactive element in terms of having them actually speak on camera about why they liked particular award winner. Tell us a little bit about that interactive component with the judges.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with award shows is there's always this mysterious panel of people that pick the winners. And I think it's wonderful to win, but what's really going to help people raise the bar in the industry for the following years is knowing, why did they win? What can I do next year to produce award-winning work? So we don't allow the judges to say anything confidential about the judging process, but what we do allow them to say is what kind of trends they were seeing and what was making work great this year and what was groundbreaking. And then that kind of feedback goes back into the industry, and then the industry can say, this is the kind of thing that we need to be doing in the future. What
are some of those groundbreaking, pushing the envelope campaigns that you've seen over the last few years? Have you seen a lot of pushing the envelope in the last few years?
Yeah, it was our very first CLIO Healthcare Award 3 years ago. There was an ad for Ambien. I don't know if you remember it, but it had this crazy rooster that would show up in your bedroom in the middle of the night, and it would crank call you from a public payphone. And there was nothing to say what the drug was. It just basically said, if you're having trouble sleeping through the night, go to www.silenceyourrooster.com. It was the very first ad that did not mention the drug's name. The website was very un-pharma. It was a teaser ad to drive people to the website, and therefore they did not have to repeat all those FDA requirements saying that it could possibly cause all these negative side effects. And so for regular CLIO, which it was entered into, it was shortlisted because it was a humorous commercial, but it did not win an actual statue. Whereas with CLIO Healthcare, it won a grand award, and the reason it did because it was so original. It was the first time someone had figured out, you know what, we don't have to say what the drug is, and then we don't have to say all those horrible side effects. And of course, what we saw the following year, we probably got 20 entries that did exactly that. They had broken the mold. So the following year, we did not award those pieces coming in because they weren't original at that point.
So there's a fine line between being groundbreaking and breaking that mold and just being a copycat.
That's right. I frequently tell people, this isn't a hard and fast rule. The judges ultimately will make the decision of what they think is great work. But what I tell people, if it is a good idea with great execution, it can win a bronze. If it is a great idea with great execution, it can win a silver. But to win a gold, it really has to be a great idea with a great execution.
Speaking of great ideas, there's going to be a Lifetime Achievement Award at this year's awards. Tell us a little bit about that. Who's the recipient, and what is it about them that's sort of broken the mold and gotten to this place where they are getting this award?
Right. Well, it's something that we've done for CLIO many years, and the audience really seems to like it, that we take somebody that's iconic in the industry and somebody that's really done a lot of groundbreaking work. For CLIO this year, we did it for Joe Pytka. Joe Pytka is a guy that's produced over 5,000 television commercials. And he's the one that did the famous McDonald's commercial with Larry Bird and Michael Jordan.
Sure, playing horse, and it's still remember it from 1992.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of those, right? So the industry, really came out to support him in that, and so we wanted to do the same thing for healthcare. So the first 2 years that we did the Healthcare Awards, we felt like we didn't know the industry well enough, and the industry didn't know us well enough to actually pick a lifetime winner. But now in our third year, we really feel like we have a much better handle. So our first recipient this year is the Global Chief Creative Officer of GSW Worldwide, Bruce Rook. And he has just done some really fantastic work for GSW, and in person is a really funny guy. And he's been on a jury before, and we thought it was really appropriate to award it for Bruce.
What are some of the changes, the improvements that you've made? You mentioned this is now the third year that you're doing this. You're actually going to be hosting this year as well.
Yes.
What are some of the changes that you've seen just in terms of the production of the show over the last 3 years?
The very first thing that people told me when we were going into the space, I made a lot of phone calls out into the healthcare advertising industry, and I asked people, what do you want out of an award show? And the very first thing that they said is, well, whatever you do not make it a sit-down, long award show, and please do not make it formal. And what we found was, unlike CLIO, healthcare advertising is closely tied to the pharma industry, and the pharma industry is very conservative. So these guys are very accustomed to doing suit and tie events, and yet that can sometimes be seen as hindering the creative process. And what the healthcare guys really want to be seen as, they want to be seen as creative people. So the very first year we decided, well, we're not going to do a party. It's not going to, we're not going to do an award show. We're going to do a party where we honor all of the winners. And rather than having a dress code, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to ask people to dress a little bit more creatively. So we had some people show up in kilts and people with foxes around their necks and things like that.
Certainly opening the door for a lot of crazy outfits if you use the word creative with wardrobe and advertising people.
Yes, and they loved it. And what they really felt, it was refreshing. And so what we like to tell people is we're very serious about our awards, but we're a lot of fun when it comes to our award show. So that was our first year. And the second year we decided to take it a little bit farther, and the theme that year was underground art. And so we brought in a bunch of street artists to do graffiti in a basement, a bar, and it was all medical graffiti. And so when you first got down there, it just looked like regular graffiti until you looked around and said, oh my God, it's pills, it's all sorts of medical stuff. We really wanted to make it a lot of fun, but a lot of people said, as fun as that was, we feel like you need to focus a little bit more on the work. So we think we found something this year that we're excited to show the audience, and that is we're going to do a very short sit-down award show in a movie theater where we can really put up the work on a big screen with wonderful sound, and we're going to go through the work enough to show everybody what the winning pieces are, but we're not going to have everybody come up to accept awards. So that way I can get them out of the movie theater within an hour. They've seen all of the winning pieces. We've shared it with all of their peers in the industry. And then at the after party, we have what we call the trophy bar. And that's where you can go and get your statue.
And even leading up to the event, you take a lot of time and effort and production value into starting off with a great introduction, a great sizzle reel.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of fun with it. We take pieces of all of the work that was entered, and we really bring that energy level up, and we really want to let people know this is a well-produced event. This is fun, because at the end of the day, what it's about, it's honoring the work and honoring the winners. And there's more than one way to do that than to bring them up on stage and have them give a thank you speech, right? So we also take that quality production online and make sure that we make it accessible to everybody in the world, because this is international. So not everybody can come to the award show. There was a time many years ago where the only place you could see the work was to come to the award show. But now we really use the internet to make sure that if there's a winning commercial, if there's a print piece, we use our social media with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and we really do everything we can to blog about this stuff and get people talking about the work. And that is what honors the winners, if a lot of people are talking about them.
And how is that dialogue going in terms of bringing in the social media? Right now, if you're not doing social media, people are going to look at you with a weird eye to say, okay, wait a minute, they're highlighting all these things that are going on and being very progressive, but they don't have a social media campaign. How has that been in terms of building that campaign?
Well, there's good news, bad news there. The good news is we're getting a lot better at it, and we're really using it to our advantage. The bad news is because of the FDA regulations, social media is slowing down for the healthcare industry, because the FDA is getting involved in saying what people can and can't say. So it's not as much activity in social media as you see in regular consumer advertising. But let's face it, we're all connected all the time now. So it's still one of the best ways for me to disseminate information about our content, to show the winners and to say this is what our judges think is really great work.
And if someone wanted to get connected with the CLIO Healthcare Awards, where do they find you online? When are the awards? Where are they taking place?
So online, you can go to CLIOHealthcare.com. For the consumer awards, it's CLIOAwards.com. If you want to go to Facebook, where we're posting a lot, it's Facebook.com/CLIO Awards. Right? It's going to be Thursday, November 10th, here in New York.
Okay. Karl, thanks for going inside communications with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.